Hi, dietitian nutritionist Emilia Sooth here with the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, talking about GERD again today. So as you may recall, there are 4 different reasons why you may be having GERD symptoms. The first one is when the gastroesophageal sphincter, which is the muscle that separates your esophagus from your stomach, gets loose, or the gastroesophageal sphincter pressure decreases. Dial back and see what the reason for that might be from my previous video. The second one is when you may experience hiatal hernia. I will talk about that in a future video, just follow along. The third one is there might be a decrease in the intragastric pressure, and that is when you're pregnant or from obesity or from gastroparesis. You might have gastroparesis either from diabetes or from another condition called vagus nerve dysfunction, and that is when food just sits in your stomach, sits there and doesn't want to move down the pipeline and creates way too much acid production, which eventually will back up your esophagus. And the fourth reason why you might have gastroparesis is when there's changes in the hydrochloric acid production from your stomach. So in your stomach, there are those cells called parietal cells. They may either overproduce hydrochloric acid or they might underproduce hydrochloric acid. So in this video, I'm going to dive deeper of the reasons why it can be either too much acid or too little acid. The pH in the stomach is supposed to be between 1 and 3, quite acidic. So it is acidic like that to protect us from any microbes that we might ingest. And in such a very, very low pH, literally almost everything will die, except for H. pylori, which is one of the rare bacteriums that is able to survive this harsh environment in your stomach. However, if the pH, for whatever reason, goes up between 5 and 7, then you might experience esophageal reflux symptoms as well. But why? Well, because this will loosen the gastroesophageal sphincter. So why someone might have too little acid being produced by the parietal cells? Well, we know that with age, the normal production of hydrochloric acid may decrease. It has been seen with people over 65. Stress can decrease hydrochloric acid production as well. Here goes again, stress. Then smoking can decrease hydrochloric acid production, so can alcohol intake. Another reason for too little hydrochloric acid, or hypochlorhydria as we call it, may be because of a lack of some nutrients, such as zinc, iron, and B12. And here's the interesting part. If you have GERD for whatever other reason, or you have decreased hydrochloric acid production, you will not be able to absorb these nutrients. But if you have lack of them, that perpetuates the process and less acid is being produced. Okay, now you're probably thinking, do I have overproduction of hydrochloric acid or do I have underproduction of hydrochloric acid? The symptoms are the same. It's hard to figure it out. All right, let me teach you how to figure it out and give you some tips of how to manage this condition. Take half a teaspoon of baking soda and dilute it in 4 ounces of water. For best results, take a whole teaspoon of baking soda, dilute it in 4 ounces of water, and drink that. 2 things might happen. Number 1, you might feel better. If that happens, that means that you have too much gastric acid sitting in your stomach for whatever reason. And just to recap, the reasons for that could be gastroparesis, pregnancy, increased abdominal fatness, or for other reason why the parietal cells might be producing too much acid in your stomach. Just to remind you though, fatty foods and certain foods might be sitting in the stomach longer, and the longer the food sits in the stomach, the more gastric acid is being produced. If this is the case, you determine that there is too much gastric acid being produced, then there are several supplements which you can use in order to manage this condition naturally and avoid acid suppressive medications, which, as you might know, come with a lot of side effects and shouldn't be used in the long term. Number 1, sodium alginate. Alginate is a substance found in the cell wall of certain species of seaweed that form a gel in the presence of gastric acid. It is considered a raft-forming agent because it floats on the top of the stomach and acts as a barrier between the gastric acid pocket being formed and the esophagus, and does not allow the gastric acid to go up the esophagus, causing damage. In a 2017 meta-analysis was found that therapies such as alginate-based therapies are more effective than antacids treating GERD symptoms. In most studies, the suggested dose is between 10 and 20 milliliters, or 500 to 1,000 milligrams for reducing symptoms of GERD. The second supplement that is quite effective and useful, and it can be used with combination with other supplements, is GDL, or licorice root. It has been shown in many studies to increase the mucus secretion and protect against the NSAID-induced damage in the stomach. However, be sure to find a DGL that does not contain glycerin, which is a substance that may increase one's blood pressure. In a 2011 trial, was shown that significant decrease in heartburn symptoms were seen in patients with functional dyspepsia and regurgitation with 75 milligrams of DGL per day for 1 month. All right, case scenario 2. You actually end up feeling worse. That means that too little acid is made by the parietal cells. Okay, if that's the case, then you need to support your gastric acid production by using betaine or hydrochloric acid. You can take 1 tablet of betaine with the first bite of food and then continue eating, and that will support your gastric acid production and digestion. For more information on GERD, follow along, and if you'd like to learn more about the information provided in this video, please find it in the description below.